Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derbies, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast 262. On deck this evening, we got a packed show to get through. We're going to be talking with Shaun Gokhanar, who earned some Mad Dog Awards and then had some struggles after the fact over at the Blue Ridge Bash, another one of the newest demolition derbies on the landscape. So we're going to be talking with him. Ed Brewster is trying to get back from Motorama at this point, and he had some struggles in his travels, without question. He also had some struggles on site, which we'll talk with him a little bit about, with the RC Derby happening at Motorama, that gigantic car show.
Man, wouldn't it be cool if they had demolition derby there?
I don't know if they could. There's no rooms left, and their ventilation system, I don't think it could keep up. They run I made a great friend out there. I only know him as the fire marshal of the city of Harrisburg.
Sounds like a nice guy.
He was very cool. He was a very good, usually when you hear fire marshal, you're like, oh God, he was a dick. He had rules to follow. We had laws to abide by, which was always cool. And,
did you tell him your dad used to be a fire chief?
What's that?
Did you tell him your dad used to be a fire chief?
He didn't care. He didn't care. One of the first times that I've ever gotten in trouble with fire marshal coding over RC Derby pit stalls, which was an exhilarating experience.
Oh, you got to go through all that later. You got to tell me about that.
I'll tell you about it now. I mean, it's not anything too crazy, but we did learn that the motocross and go-kart, quarter midget races have CO sensors all over the place. After a couple years ago, they had challenges with that. But V8 engines, apparently, when you put 20 of them together in the same place, might make more CO than motocross bikes do. So it's unlikely that will ever come to pass. And also, with the amount of classic car enthusiasts there, I really think a relic class would be fun. But also, that probably wouldn't get through the hole in the needle, as it were, to make that happen as well. And then in the middle of this, we're going to catch up with Tim Clark just to get an update on where things are with
Capital City Carnage.
Capital City Carnage. I got stuck on the Ed loop and was thinking about Finger Lake Speed World that's coming up here in a couple of weeks. We're going to be back in Auburn for that. But yes, so first and foremost, I did a little bit of the preliminary booking while I was in Topeka. See, you screwed me all up. I don't even know what city I was in. When I was out in Harrisburg, and just off of some of the Facebook posts that were coming through, some of the intermittent signal that we had inside the building, and I happened to see that Shaun had shared that he got Mad Dog, and just quickly looked at the Bluegrass page, and I didn't see any results. And I saw Billy Orndorff had made a comment online about feeling slighted, and after we spoke, I went through and I found that the results were posted on the Carolina Promoters page. And I did find it, and Billy finished third, and I called him, and I don't want any hard feelings at all. I really didn't mean anything by that. Billy's a good dude. I like him. His boy's a good dude. We've had Billy and Josh both on the show before. Dylan Lockwood picked up a win. I've got all the results here. Let's zip through those quick. Roger Rafferty took the win in the 80s newer stock class. Darren Bettinger, second place. Billy Orndorff taking third. Had a new LS, first run on it. He was real proud of that motor. It held up good for him. Justin Murray took the Mad Dogs out of the heats, and Shaun Gokhanar took the Mad Dog out of the main event. Bruce Davis won the front-wheel drive compact class in the Cookie Monster car.
I like that.
Kyle Turner, Andy Anderson, second and third. Raleigh Grant taking Mad Dog Awards. Raleigh Grant in the compact division. And Dylan Lockwood, again, taking Mad Dog and first place in the minivan SUV truck. Scott Zisk, second place. Mark Crawford in third. Power Wheels, Christopher Fortenberry. And the youth lawnmower was Carter Givens. Again, this was the inaugural Blue Ridge Bash that was held in Wytheville, I believe was the city that was there, and Millbridge Speedway helped out with making sure that got up and off the ground. So looking for good things to come. And again, as I was saying a moment ago, I mean no ill will. Congratulations to Billy. We've seen him do some awesome things, some incredible builds. We remember the Pontiac that he built a couple years ago, that he had the in-car camera from, I think it was the Washington Post was doing a story on Demolition Derby sort of as a whole, an investigative journalism piece. So he had some in-car cameras, or USA Today, maybe it was USA Today. He's a good dude, and I'm not looking for trouble over it, but it is what it is. Thoughts, input, shifting gears?
No, I'll probably just leave it alone. Busy weekend. A lot of Derby stuff going on.
There was.
You were busy with the Motorama. Yep. I watched just the highlight of the Joker put it about a $2.6 million demolition derby down in Daytona. 10 laps
I
to
see
go.
what you did there. It's a NASCAR joke.
Yeah. Kept up with everything. My kids started to get on me about going over to work on the derby cars, but
there was
cold.
less than 10 cars running, or at least on the lead lap. There was less than 10 cars on the lead lap, and better than half of the Daytona 500s contested in the 80s. Let's just put that out there. I don't know how many cars were running, but I think there was only 12 cars running and 5 on the lead lap or something insane. But nonetheless, Denny Hamlin won. Awesome.
Watch some AAF football. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I have not caught any of it yet.
I'm an addict, man. I love it.
Yeah. It's good.
I love it. Good weekend, though. Quiet. Hung out with the family. That kind of stuff.
Do they like hanging out with you as much as you like hanging out with them?
They don't have a choice.
They don't have a choice. It's my house, huh?
It's funny how it works that way.
Yeah. So Shaun is on the line. Shaun, tell me a little bit more about the weekend. I know they got some facility improvements to make over there, but it's the first time through. How'd it go?
It was a real good show, Chris. We think it was a good time had by all. I heard hardly any complaints. Carolina Derby Promotions, my hat's definitely off to them. They did what seemed to be a great job taking cars. It was very thorough from when they started at 11 o'clock in the morning when we went through all the way to the last car at right around 5 p.m. It was a really good show. Turned out really good.
Now, Shaun, the question I have to ask is, that had to be the most stock-built car you've ever derbied in your life. I mean, we've seen some of your creations, and they've been a little on the extreme side. This one, from the pictures I saw on Facebook, it looked pretty tame.
Yeah. It's I'm turning over a new leaf. I don't have time to put into the old stuff like I used to. So I'm going the last couple of years we did pretty much only stock builds, and it kind of went that direction. And it's a lot easier. It's a lot more fun. There's not near as much money on the line. It seems to be the trend with most drivers these days.
Yeah, definitely.
The real reason he's tired of replacing welders.
Yeah, he gets burning welders on one season. That gets expensive. No, Shaun, we got to see each other last year down in San Filippo, and I hadn't seen each other in quite a while. I didn't get to see you after the Derby, but you really put on a hell of a show in the Classics heat. I was hoping it would come down to you and Klinger, and you guys would get to battle it out, but unfortunately that didn't work out that way. But that was a great heat, man. You had a hell of a car, did a real nice job out there, and I'm hoping you guys bring some more of that Southern Iron back up here at the end of the year, and we can watch you run again.
Yeah, it's definitely in the plans. We had a blast coming up there last year. The Derby was for great cause. Loved going up to Bales. Really glad we could come up and help support Gully and Decker and everybody. But they did a great job as well. It was a good show, definitely.
In terms of this one that you just got through, the Blue Ridge Bash, Tell me a little bit more about the feature and how everything played out. You know, you got to make some tough selections in terms of what car you bring to an 80s newer stockish built show. You got to make some decisions on what tire compounds you want to run as well, given what you're going to have indoors. A lot of these places end up in equestrian joints, and as we talked about before, topsoil doesn't really tack up. It just gets muddy. It doesn't. Depending on how deep it is, it might just come apart and you're running on concrete before you're done. How was the show? How was the facility?
The facility was really nice. This Derby was actually the third event that they've ran in the facility, so it was actually a brand new building. I think they had the first event about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
That was the monster truck deal?
Yeah, I believe it was. It was a monster truck show. But it was mostly, I'd say, clay track. Yeah. And it was tacky. It was actually a really good running surface. I can't complain at all. It bit well. Getting traction to move wasn't an issue.
Well, that's always a good thing, right?
Yeah, especially for that crew.
Yeah. I mean, I do run ag tires too, or have been the last few years. The 14-inch tractor tires. So they bike good and get moving on most surfaces. So they're done after about a Derby, but.
Now, did you actually put a radiator in this car? Did you plan on running a little longer, or was it a normal?
Oh no, I haven't ran a radiator in years, Brian.
I just wondered. I mean, I didn't know heats of the feature what you were going to do.
No, I got another good run on the 4.6 though.
Nice.
Still been playing with that setup.
Good.
Actually starting to duplicate it. We're getting some good information, getting some good data off of them, and every time I get to run it, we get to improve it a little bit more. So I ran it this past time. I ran it. It was on full methanol, EFI methanol.
Nice.
So it's been fun. It's been interesting to play with something new like that. And I've been writing all my tunes for it and everything. Myself and my cousins, we put our heads together and did all the tuning on it. So
now, what is that? Is that like one of the motors that the last series of Crown Vic cop cars had in it? Was that style motor?
Yes. Yeah, I'm running a pulse width modulated. It's a 08 4.6, and it's bone stock. We put headers on it, cut a tune for it, and slapped it in a Derby car.
Nice. How's the testing and tuning been going for, Dave? Have you run into any major problems, or has it been pretty smooth?
No, I mean, can't say we haven't ran into problems. We've I'd like to know how many hours I've had on computer writing tunes. I bet I have somewhere between 60 and 100 hours in setting my computer adjusting parameters.
Wow.
But it's paying off. It's nice when you hit that switch, it fires up and runs smooth, and it's the EFI is pretty neat.
Yeah. I was talking with Jeffy a little bit when we were at San Filippo, and he was talking about the EFI and guys running that, and that's still, I don't know, there's just something about it that still makes me a little nervous, but I mean, guys seem to be having good luck with it. I mean, maybe it is the way of the future. I don't know.
What makes you nervous about it?
Just, it seems to me there's too much that can go wrong, because I mean, it's all got to be fired, electrically or electronically, and I don't know. I'm old and I'm not a big fan of change, and slap a 2G on the top of it and goes.
Is it NASCAR fuel injected now?
Yeah, but NASCAR is pretty shitty now. So
is it? I'm pretty sure Formula One has fuel injection. They're not carbureted, aren't they?
Yeah, I've never watched Formula One, but like I mentioned Joker earlier, and I talked to Joker when NASCAR went to Formula One, and nobody liked the idea. They can't get as good a fuel mileage. They can't. It's
when they went to EFI.
Yeah. It's not as that. There isn't the throttle response isn't as good. It's nobody's a big fan of it, but they wanted to. They went to it to make it more like a production car. So if that's what the guys paying the big bills want to do, then that's kind of what you got to do. But
How did Bill do? I got to get to your results too, but how did Bill Rafferty do in terms of getting that win, and Billy Orndorff coming home with a third place? It was nice to see some of the hometown crowd doing well.
Yeah, I think what was his last name, Lafferty?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did very good. Him and his other boy that was there from Ohio that got second, I can't remember his name.
Roger Rafferty and Darren Bettinger.
Roger and Darren, okay. But yeah, they had two really strong running cars. They were there. They were there to win. They drove to win. Can't knock anything that they did, to be honest with you.
Right.
Two very good competitors. Bill was there in a 80s Cadillac, which was a little new for him, and he did great in that LS he had that was carbureted. That thing sounded great when he got in it. You definitely knew it was out on the track.
That was another alcohol car.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. That was my assumption why he went with the carbureted version to keep it methanol. But it definitely sounded good. I'm not a Chevy guy, but you really can't argue with those LSs. Man, they run good.
Do you think it was Josh that got him to convert over? Josh who runs LS Nation on all of his cars, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would assume Josh has had really good luck out of his LS. Of course, his is EFI.
Right.
But man, it runs good. Josh, he had a really good showing this heat. He actually qualified for the feature. I think his car didn't hold up quite as well as Pops did there. He had a bumper fall off, and the rear end, I think, went down instead of coming up and packing.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was any build difference there or not, or Pops just drove a little smarter.
Well, if it's an 80s Cadillac, it's also a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do everything you want, and still, when you pull out onto the track, I think anybody that's in one of those, you just look at Wood Booger Demolition Derbies, you know, they love them, but a lot of those guys have always said that you pull out there and you've done everything right, but there's still that little sliver where it's like, boy, I hope this thing doesn't turn into a potato digger.
The only one we've seen really have good luck with it was Rosno when he brought the metric to Bash one year.
That was a little bit more built.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying, but there's some of the guys that are out there in Massachusetts on the Wood Booger side of things that they're doing different things just because of what the rules are, and they've been able to have some really good luck in getting them to go down.
Yeah, I think you can notch them, but I think the problem is still blowing the humps out with that year car.
That's what they do. They were designed. I mean, more or less, they were designed for that, right?
Yeah.
So you got to work around the OEM technology before you can worry about the rest of it. But
yeah, just got to cheat them up better.
That's right.
Just cheat them up better.
What happened to you in the feature? Where did you finish, and what's the rumblings about the DQ?
Well, I finished fifth. I was disqualified for a driver's door shot. It was a bad driver's door shot. I was driving aggressive. I guess that was, and I don't know. There towards the end, right before I got DQ'd, I felt like it was a lot of 2-on-1, 3-on-1 there for a little while.
Right.
And I was just giving it all I could give it, and just got a little too aggressive. And it was a bad call on my part. I mean, I definitely own it. I should have let out of it way before I did, and thought I was making it to his front tire, and he was pulling forward as I was coming at him, and
right.
It was just a bad call.
So I guess the question that I have out of that, and correct me if it's a bridge too far, how do you come away with prize money and trophies as the Mad Dog if you got disqualified in the feature?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. One of the officials came up to me afterwards and said, "You have my vote for Mad Dog." He said, "You're tearing it up," but I had to DQ you after that. It was my first driver's door hit of the show. A lot of places when you're running hard, if you're running real aggressive, they're going to happen.
Right.
Sooner or later, everybody's made a driver's door hit. Not unintentionally. I'm definitely not out to hurt anybody. I don't run like that. But I am out to put on a show and make some hits.
Right.
And I wish I had a good excuse, but I really don't. It was just bad call.
The rules allow for some skinning of the door to help enhance driver safety and keep the cockpit more intact, keep it secure, or was it the stock rules with stock skins and none of that over-welding, overlapping, overplating stuff?
Yeah, no, it was pretty stock skins. Yeah. You were allowed to weld your door shut, but only I think it was 3x6 plates per vertical seam. Gotcha. No plates horizontal. They did allow you down bar from your cage, the center of your driver's door, down the sheet metal, which helped. But unfortunately, my bumper was, up probably higher than his cage was at the time.
Sure.
So, I did feel into his car a little bit. And I felt bad, man. It was a bad hit, probably one of the worst ones I've ever made. And it was, like I said, really bad judgment call on my part.
Yeah, I know the feeling. It happens. I remember I was at, Josh Buell, Waterloo one year, and I was in a Consi, and I was 64 Imperial, and I hadn't done much to it. I just changed the front bumper, and Mark Carr had a Monaco, and he pulled out and stopped as I was heading for his front tire, and he got just far enough ahead, and I locked the brakes up, but it's sloppy, and you're in an Imperial, running half track wide open. It was sliding the front tire, but I still caved his door in pretty bad, and they came out and stopped the thing and shook the black flag at me, and I'm like, I didn't have an argument. If they would have black flagged me, I would have, I had earned it. But it's tough. You do definitely, feel bad afterwards. You don't ever want to do it on purpose. But it happens. Unfortunately, it's part of the game. But it stinks when it does happen.
The challenge is sometimes, when you've got those drivers that are using it as a shield, we've seen that, but oftentimes those are more plated up. But then, you get out there for a stock show and there's nothing to protect it. It's going to take that sheet metal and just open it up like a can opener. And unfortunately, we had a situation like that. I think it was a little questionable. Shaun says it was my first driver hit of the night. Well, if you're DQing for driver's door shots, you only get one.
Yeah, it was.
And we can.
I took one.
We chuckle a little bit about it, but obviously everybody was okay, and we can kind of come away on that spot. It's not anything to laugh about. We don't want anybody to get hurt.
Yeah, the first derby I ever won at Burton, a guy had a Sport Fury wagon, and he full tracked me. And I was in an 70 Imperial. Full tracked me and got me to driver's door. And it pinned my hand between the door and the steering wheel. And I got it loose. I laid over and kicked the door where I could turn the steering wheel. And then I was fired up.
I almost lost my hand in that one truck run.
No.
The only one.
Really?
Instead of hanging on to the steering wheel, I was trying to hang on to anything on the side because the seat tracks were slopping back and forth. And I happened to find a spot where there was enough room to hang on to the door bar on the side. And it didn't register until like a little bit later on when I don't even know why it clicked, but I could hang on to the door bar because my hand was going into the opening where like the speaker would be or whatever, where stuff was mounting. It's like, well, this seems like a bad plan. Turns out that wasn't the worst plan to come. There was
yeah, you improved on the worst plan. What?
If I do something, I do it 100%.
Absolutely. That's why we love you, Chris Marquardt.
Well, I'm glad everything went well. Nobody passed out from CO2 emissions or CO emissions, carbon monoxide emissions at the facility. I'm sure they're going to work on that side of things. The fact that the track held up as well as it did, and a lot of the local guys from Woodstock that made the trip came home with some hardware and some money, with you getting the Mad Dog and Billy taking third overall. Dylan Lockwood, we've seen him do awesome things in that SUV truck class. When in our trips down to the Shenandoah County Fairgrounds, so it was good to see him find some success as well. What are you doing from here on out? What else have you got on the schedule?
Well, I've got a new shop on the schedule this year, so that's probably going to set me out for most of the spring shows. So we'll see. I've got, I'm going to run Chaos in the Valley's fall show in a two-man extreme car with Shane Hammond.
Nice.
I'm definitely planning on bringing a Relic and most likely another 2-man extreme car up to San Filippo in the fall.
Awesome.
Cool.
Those are really the only ones I have set in stone that I've definitely had my heart set on doing this year. And we'll see how the new shop goes and what money looks like and all that. Plus, I'm really working hard on the 4.6 stuff. I've had a lot of calls and a lot of people that, I can't say a lot, but I've had a handful of people that have expressed interest in buying some wiring harnesses and stuff. So I'm trying to get more info locked down on that, and might get to selling some setups.
Awesome.
Cool.
Modular Ford setups. So.
Plus, the weather's probably changing down there. You're probably going to be back to work here pretty quick, aren't you?
As far as
construction and excavation and all that fun stuff.
Oh, we've been working all winter, Brian.
Oh, you worked right through the winter.
Oh man, rain, snow, cold. Oh yeah, we haven't had a choice. We've had so much rain down here in the last 10 months probably. It's just, I don't know how it's been up your way, but down here we had a record-setting year in 2018 for rain, and it blew our old record way out of the water. Like, we had something like 90-some inches of rain, I think, in 2018, and it still hasn't quit. So we've been
working right through it.
Yeah, we were so backed up. We don't have any choice but to work through all this cold weather and stuff.
Man, that makes it rough.
Yeah, it really makes you question your choice of employment.
You got to talk to the boss, man. See if you can come up with something else.
Yeah, I would. My boss is a a-hole, though.
Oh, goodness.
Well, again, man, congratulations on the Mad Dog, and it's good to hear all the success you're finding with that 4.6 program. Hopefully that continues, and well done to all the folks from Woodstock and all the folks overall that found success at Blue Ridge Bash. Hopefully this is one that stays on the radar, can get some legs underneath it, and keep growing. You know, it's nice to have something indoor that's a little bit closer to that Mid-Atlantic range. We don't have to go halfway across the country to see something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely suggest that if you're somebody that's on the East Coast and you're looking for a good indoor show to run, Blue Ridge Bash, that show was phenomenal. Really, it really was. Can't say enough about how the guys inspected cars, and they're planning on. I think they were talking a little bit about possibly a fall show, and then from here on out, trying to do 2 a year or so there at that facility.
Right. Cool.
So, definitely highly recommended.
Cool. Well, Shaun, man, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yep. Hey, Chris, thanks for having me.
You bet.
Hey,
we'll talk
take it easy,
soon.
Shaun.
Yep. Brian, take it easy, man.
See you, bud.
Later.
A couple thoughts from Shaun Gokhanar on Blue Ridge Bash there. And again, I'll take ownership for it. You know, I did not go as deep into the research side of things as we probably should have in Miss Billy. We got to get Tim now.
Got to call Tim.
Are you excited?
I am. Hey, you know what this weekend was? It was the 1-year anniversary of my mother's heart attack.
Already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
She is kicking butt, taking names.
And your dad just had a birthday too, right?
Yeah, 81.
Yeah. And he can still work circles around you.
Oh, God. I wouldn't even attempt to keep up with him. There ain't no shot. Wish I was as quarter as smart as that man.
That won't happen.
No. No, I'm hoping it skipped this generation. And, you know, I'm hoping it's like Richard Petty and Adam Petty, but my son turns out better in that, you know, Richard had Kyle, and Kyle's worthless. So, you know, my dad had me, and I'm not worthless, but, you know, I'm better than Kyle Petty. But, you know, hopefully it gets passed on to my son, and, you know, he can take over the stuff.
I've never once in my life thought that I would hear the phrase Kyle Petty's worthless. I mean, that's
but it's true.
That's a big jump. I mean,
but it's pretty true.
That's a big
let's be
jump.
honest.
I mean, it's a big jump. I don't know if I would go that route. Wow.
I mean, if his name wasn't Petty, he'd be asking if you wanted fries with that.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. That is cold.
But it's the truth.
I guess. I don't know. I've always liked him.
Really?
I thought he had cool cars.
Kyle Petty?
Yeah, I've never had an issue with the guy.
Have you ever heard him talk?
Yeah, I like the fact that he's got some off the wall opinions. He's got a different take on things.
We're gonna have to talk about this on the
I
flight.
have a different take on things too. You and I do not agree on a lot of things, but we've always had at least. Well, I don't know if I call it a friendship. At least functional, right?
Friendship, yeah. Yeah, we're good.
Tim Clark joining us on the line here. Capital City Carnage is coming up just around the corner. The Kansas Expo Center is the home of Capital City Carnage. Thursday, March the 21st, are the heat draws. That's at 7 o'clock start time. That's going to be live. Friday, March 22nd, is the first round of qualifying heats for the limited welds. Action starts at 7 o'clock. We're going to go through a whole pile of those on Friday, and then they're going to move into repair mode as we get ready for the doubleheader on Saturday, March the 23rd, 10 a.m. start time for the limited weld constellations. The compacts are going to be on the card for that morning program, along with that first flight of the two-man extreme class. And then at 7 o'clock, the 10,000 win limited weld feature will headline the evening, preceded by the modifieds in that second flight of the two-man extreme class. March 21st to the 23rd, online, capitalcitycarnage.com. Everybody's looking forward to it. And again, we are knocking on the door of that one. A little over a month away. Yeah, a little over a month away on that one from where we are right now. Tim Clark on the hotline. Tim, how's everything going with Capital City Carnage?
It's doing great. It's actually doing really good. Everything's coming together real good, so we're right on track.
That's good. How's everybody doing in terms of what's going on at home and everything? Everything staying calm as you put the schedule together? Everybody keeping up?
Yeah, I mean, it's working together. I mean, we're probably picking up about 5 new fairs this year, and so we're putting the schedule together, so hopefully that we'll have that out in the next 30 days.
So how many fairs did you give up? Let's start there.
Okay, I think I am probably giving up 1 this year.
Okay.
I'm picking up 5, maybe 6.
So at this point now, you're flirting with 50 derbies this year.
I would say probably maybe a little over 50.
Brian, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if Russ knew that you picked up 4 more derbies.
Yeah, he did. He does. I mean, and I think it puts stress on him for everything he's going through too. So, but we'll get through it.
Oh my goodness! I actually talked to Tim here last weekend, I guess it was, and he told me, I don't know how true it was, but he told me he was personally working on one of the trailers, getting ready to go to Capital City Carnage. So we'll have to check out the craftsmanship when we get out there.
I have a question in a different vein.
Oh boy!
Because we know that Tim and Russ are close.
Oh yeah,
they're close brothers. And,
absolutely.
And years ago, in their younger days, they used to roll around in the garage now and then when there's a disagreement. So has there ever been, since you guys have launched Bash for Cash and Smash It's gained traction, and you guys now have Blizzard Bash and Capital City Carnage, that like you walk in the door at Russ's house and he just comes up and punches you and you genuinely don't know why, because there's so many reasons that he could have punched you, you don't know which one he picked?
The only time he's really came in the garage yelling at me is I think you guys had me on when we kind of went to 10,000 to win for mini cars, at the Bash for Cash. I think that's the only time he really got mad at me without him knowing anything.
That's awesome. We kid, but it is, and I've 100 times I've mentioned how well you and Russ work together, and it is. I mean, you guys really do do great things together. We're looking forward to coming back out in March and getting back in the booth. How's have you had any more guys sign up for the limited weld class? I know there was still some spots open, and I think that was about the only class that was open.
Yeah, I'm not for sure. Russ actually takes care of that pretty good. Russ and Candace, works on all the scheduling stuff. So if I'm not mistaken, I think we're right around 65 for that class there alone. I think that's got to be pretty much about average for out there. I think it's usually 65 to 70. I think is. Yeah, I think we had a little over 70 last year, right at 80. This completely full signed up, but I think we had like 65 that showed up and ran or something last year.
Yeah,
so we're right on the schedule.
And then I see your the mod class, that's full. I see you guys had
and dude, that mod class, it's really funny. It just seems like how many cars get tore up at Blizzard Bash. You know, one year it could be big, one year it could be small, at Capital Carnage. So, but, you know, so.
One year we were
I
there.
think that class right there is going to be great, too.
Yeah.
One year we were there, and I think there was only, a dozen?
Yeah.
9?
I think it was the first year they had the mod class.
And there was only 9 or 12 of it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was a great show.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, last year we went out, and that's when Mike and his wife and Dan and his wife were there. And that's the heat. I told him, I said, all right, I said, this is what Blizzard Bash is about, except all the cars. So that heat really, kind of encapsulates and gets you revved up a little bit for what you're going to see in November. But both 2-man extreme classes or heats are full, so that's always a crowd favorite. I'm really starting to love that class even more because you're seeing more and more shockers in it. Guys are bringing lots of Mopars there, so how can you go wrong in a class where guys are bringing Mopars?
And this is a point that we've made in the past, and I know it's probably not what you want to hear, but there's shockers in that class because they don't know what to do with them otherwise. You know, we talk about how it's an affordable class. If you got a car that's junk, you don't know what to do with it. You know, go out there and just have fun. Well, it's all shockers because they're junk. No one knows what to do with them, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, goodness.
I got a message from my Gosser out the other day.
Did you?
And I hope he doesn't get mad from sharing the story. He goes, so that Newport you got there, is there any chance you'd sell it? I said, $17,000, you can have it.
Nice. Tim, did you guys do any big rules changes this year going into the season, or is everything kind of staying put?
It's staying pretty much I mean, we didn't change anything at Blizzard Bash. You know, we didn't change really nothing at Capital Carnage, and I don't think we're really changing too much at our shows with the classes that we have. We started a new class, you know, and that's the class that filled up at the Bash in like 4 minutes, the pro stock. So, but we're trying to keep it about the same.
Yeah.
You know, I keep hearing everybody bitch about rule changes. So I thought, you know what, we won't change nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you guys, we have the guys that want to go crazy and build crazy stuff, and we have the guys who want to beat the windows out. So we have a little bit of everybody for every class that we have.
Yeah.
I'm going to change gears from the classes and turn the attention over to the surface itself at Capital City Carnage. What has been built into place to make sure that there's no day one woes or anything like that trying to get that surface under wraps? I mean, it seems like we know what we got to do in order to get it tight. What are we going to do to make sure that it's tight right off the bat? Well,
we've been really paying attention to the dirt out there, because with the rain and weather and stuff like that, and
right.
You know, we brought the old dirt company back in to help us out at Blizzard Bash. So I think we'll have the dirt figured out.
Cool.
So,
good.
You know,
you could always just bring all the dirt in and load it up in the middle of the Roadrunners arena and say, deal with it. That way you know it's dry.
Right.
Skate around it.
Yeah, no doubt.
One of these days we're going to have to get a building out there to just store dirt in or something, because it seems like every time you dig dirt out of the ground, it's
disappears.
wet.
Yeah.
You know, Blizzard Bash, I learned a lot, that's for sure, in 1 year.
You know, and that's the thing is Chris and I touched on that, and I touched on it, last year after Blizzard Bash. You know, it irritates me to no end, that promoters, you guys put on the biggest shows, in the country, and people bitch about the tracks. Like, it's something that you guys did on purpose. And I'm like, and I generally, try to stay off Facebook. But I'm just like, yeah, this is what the promoters wanted, like it's so ignorant for people that, the comments they come up with. 'Cause, there's nothing more that a promoter wants than to have a fast, hard track, so it keeps people coming back next year, and they tell their friends to come back next year. And it just, and I think it's just drivers and, fans in general, because, you hear it in racing too, but it's just so frustrating to hear people complain and, blame it on the promoters. Because, when Sam had his issues there, he absolutely didn't want to have them. You guys last year, it wasn't as bad. It was, a little slick the first night. I felt I wasn't there, but from what I was watching, it looked like it was a little slick. But I mean, by the second night, I thought you guys had it tightened up and everything was good. But I mean, it's just annoying to hear people bitch about the track like you guys did it on purpose. It just it's one of those things that pisses me off that Derby fans do.
Well, especially when you're doing it indoors. I mean, the dirt's not in there. It's a concrete floor.
Yep.
You're bringing dirt in from the outside. It's been raining for 5 months.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to find dry dirt. I mean, it really is. If it's an outdoor show, you can keep digging down to dry dirt if you had to, but indoors is totally different.
Yeah, no doubt.
So,
how are things looking for Bash?
Bash is looking great. I mean, everything's looking really good, but the first step is getting, this Capital Carnage over and moving on to another thing. So,
Yep, it'd be great to get back out there and see all you guys and hang out. Are you keeping Fatty under control? You getting him, calmed down and ready for his new season of working on derbies?
Yeah, Fatty's doing really good. He got him a new job and he's working a lot more. So, but he says he has to get out in the garage sometime soon. So.
Nice. Hey, I don't know if you saw it or not. That's
crazy too. With a couple kids and a wife and a new job, it'll drain you. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Hey, your buddy Zizzleman's selling a GM wagon. Did you see that on Facebook?
Yeah, I've actually seen that car before, so it's a pretty nice car. But this is not too far from my house, so I think I've seen every car he owns.
So you're going to add that to the collection? I mean, you got a pretty nice collection going of wagons.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I had to build another barn at my place, so before I buy anything else.
Wow. What a problem.
Absolutely.
The raffle car at Bash for Cash going to be a wagon again?
No, it's actually going to be a 03 Crown Vic.
Nice.
It's going to be for the Picker Class again. So
that was pretty well received last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
didn't know if we were going to go back to the old way or what.
The wagons it's great to build a wagon, but finding one, that's the problem.
Yeah, and anymore, if you find them, you got to pay top dollar. I mean, you're not.
You got to pay, right? Because when you want a raffle car, you don't want a car that you have to weld floorboards in for 3 months before you start working on it.
Yeah, it's no fun. No fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially in Ohio, it seems like a wagon. It's like you have to give your first kid away or something to get one. So they're so expensive around here.
Don't give your kid away. You got too much money invested in them now.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's for sure.
Now he's graduating this year, right? All done with college?
He'll graduate the 1st of May.
Nice.
So he'll be all graduated in May. Hopefully he'll be moving towards New York. So
that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So
good for him.
Fantastic. So entries are rolling. Got some plans in place for the surface.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, surface, I wouldn't worry too much about the dirt. I think we got that figured out pretty good, so I'm not too stressed about the dirt now. So,
what day do you get into Topeka?
I will probably get in around the 19th.
Cool.
Russ is probably going to fly in around the 20th, 21st, and I'll be out there around 18th or 19th.
He'll be coming in on the Smash It private jet. They'll add that.
No, I know. I told him because he has a doctor's appointment and stuff like that, and I told him to start looking for a plane ticket to fly out there. So
is he going to do?
I can drive. I said, you ain't driving clear out there.
Is he going to do cameos, or is he going to try and be the hammer out there front to back for all hours of inspection?
I don't know. I mean, I'll probably send him to the hotel at least a couple times. That's for sure.
It's funny. The last year we were there for last year, Capital City Carnage. We were up in the booth. We're talking back and forth, and all of a sudden, like on the corner of my eye, I saw somebody, and I thought it was Frosty. So I look over, and it's Russ standing there. Yep. And I don't know, I had no clue how long he'd been standing there. And I'm like, hey, you want a seat? And he's like, yeah. So then he sat down and he finished the heat with you guys. And then I asked him, I said, if you're going to stay up here, do you mind if I go down and stand by the track? He said, no, go ahead. And that was the first time I'd been on the floor at Topeka. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't it wasn't Blizzard Bash, but I mean, those guys were driving hard in the limited wells. It was so cool to go down there. And then, I was down there for a heat and then went back up, and Russ was bored with being up there, and he was on his way again. So, but it was cool. He definitely makes his, shows up and keeps an eye on everything out there. It's fun.
Fatty told me that Russ got bored up in the booth with us because he didn't have anybody to yell at.
I don't know
if it's true.
I've never heard Russ. I've never heard Russ raise his voice, but there's some looks that I've seen Russ give, and I'm just like, oof. I'm glad like I've said before, Tim and I are kind of like, outgoing and, kind of boisterous and loud. But Russ has got some looks that will straighten people right out. I think you probably agree with that, right, Tim? There's some times Russ gives some looks that'll.
He was, before he went through all his treatments and stuff, he was more voice appended. Now he's kind of, he'll stare you down more now, so. But I know when he's mad and when he's not, I think. So I can just look at him and tell.
Yeah, it'll be good to see him. Yep. Good to see him. Good to see both of you guys.
We'll catch up with some drivers here now as we run on our push up to Capital City Carnage, talking with some of them, and we'll probably be touching base at least with Tim. Maybe no promises. Maybe
should have talked to Russ.
No, I was going to say Fatty. Just to make him feel like he's involved.
Yeah, we probably could.
Maybe. Let's not.
We got to get that okay though. Tim and Russ have to okay it before we talk to Fatty.
Right, because
don't say that. Hey, we can't take nothing away from Fatty. Fatty does a lot for me.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Yeah, he does. Fatty. It's hilarious. I've offered multiple times to pay for beverages to sit and listen to him and Toby tell stories from Derby and back in the day. But no, Fatty. The Clark family definitely loves Demolition Derby. I mean, it's, at Bash for Cash especially, I think, what'd you say, Tim? You have 10 or 12 relatives working for you at Bash for Cash? Something like that?
Oh, yeah. Probably even the 15 mark, so.
I mean, and it's.
People from my family, so.
They're all into it. And, we bust Fatty's balls a lot, but he's a great guy. He helps any way he can, and but he likes the abuse, so we'll continue giving it to him.
Right. It's out of love.
Absolutely.
Right. As for a promoter like me, I mean, if you didn't have people to give you a hand and do what they do, I mean, we definitely could never get what I get done. That's for sure.
That's the thing I've touched on before is, you guys do. I mean, the three biggest derbies in the country right now, you guys promote, and, we're lucky enough to be at them. And, we talk to most everybody, from your inspectors to, everybody. And everybody generally seems happy. You know what I mean? Like by the end of the week, everybody's tired, but there isn't guys bitching. There isn't guys, everybody's still, talking and having a good time and busting chops back and forth. And I think that's part of the reason why you guys have the success you do is because, y'all work together and you all get along well, and you handle what's thrown at you, and I think it shows with the product you guys put out. I mean, it's it shows that you guys care, about each other as a company. You care about the Derby drivers and fans for what you put out. So I think that's why, you guys are so successful.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe you're right. I mean, I think everybody has to get along, and but that's for sure. Working together is the best thing somebody could do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But I can see derbies going in, everybody's saying Demolition Derby is dying, but I can see it still going strong for a while.
Yeah.
I'm hearing less of that.
Yeah,
there's a lot less of that banter about the sport dying off.
You keep seeing you keep seeing new derbies popping up, and so I definitely think it's going in the right way, and
for sure.
I think it's going in the right way. I mean, and I think there's a couple of us promoters out there saying that there's going to be some big shows out there. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm definitely one of them. I'm going to say that I'm going to put the biggest show on. So. It's coming.
We didn't even touch on that.
Yeah.
No. I was just going to mention you've made the payoffs. You changed the payoffs for Blizzard Bash, correct?
Yeah, we put in like $20,000 to the purse for all the classes out there. We raised up the team show for instead of $30,000 to win, $40,000. Raised up everything else a little bit. So. Blizzard Bash is going in the right way. I can see some other shows jumping up that way, or even some other show might even come up above, be up there in a big way.
But you're not going to tell us what you're talking about yet, right?
No, not yet. So,
okay, I'm reading between the lines here.
Where it's going to be at.
I was just going to touch on that. I mean, that's Blizzard Bash is now $40,000 to win the national team show. That's $10,000 a driver. That is pretty damn good. It's
right. But I mean, for them teams out there, for what the work they put into it that week,
absolutely,
they probably deserve actually more than that. I mean, them drivers. I mean, I can't say nothing about any of the drivers in Kansas. I mean, I think they're the hardest driving bunch of derby drivers out there is the people that run Blizzard Bash and Capital Carnage. It's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I can't argue that. The collection you guys get in there, they get after it. But yeah, it's real. I had forgot all about that. But yeah, I was, they smash it, raised the purses for Blizzard Bash, and as we get closer, we'll discuss that more. But I just wanted to get that out there. So I think it's 4 weeks. We will be in Topeka.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody wants to come out and see a bunch of cars get tore up, I think there's like 200 cars scheduled to get tore up that weekend or something.
Nice.
I think that's where we're involved in right around that number-wise out there. But I think it's going to be a great show. I mean, so it's going to be definitely entertaining.
No doubt.
You jump online, find out more information on it. You can also get all your ticket information online, capitalcitycarnage.com. Again, the Derby running March 21st through the 23rd. Heat draws on Thursday, then the qualifying rounds on Friday, and then the Twin Bill on Saturday. Tim, I know you got tons to do. Thanks for coming on the show and hanging out with us for a little while. We'll be in touch here in a couple weeks again to get another follow-up as we run up to Capital City Carnage 2019.
Sounds great, guys. Thanks for having me.
We'll talk to you later.
Good one, Tim.
All right, bye.
Some input from Tim on Capital City Carnage.
Read between the lines, but it sounds like there may be a new derby coming.
Yeah, you think? You think?
That's interesting. I have heard a little scuttlebutt between Tim and Russ talking before. And it was pretty cool what I heard, so I hope that what I've heard is going to happen because it would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to be sitting in an announcer's booth for that.
Maybe you know a guy.
We do know a guy, don't we?
Hey, let me put you in. So, shifting gears now. I didn't even think about it, but I just noticed that we're going back to the Commonwealth of Virginia with Ed Brewster. Ed Brewster's online. Ed, how are you?
A little tired, Chris, but hanging in there.
So Ed had a challenging weekend between some computer difficulties, and then on top of that, he got his blood sugar down to 61, and his blood pressure was like 225 over 200 or something insane one day, and then it went the other way, and then his sugar like spiked up like super high, and his blood pressure fell down to the floor. So he had a bunch of folks around him helping get him back and forth to the EMT's booth at Harrisburg. So if nothing else, I'm just glad that we're talking to him this evening, and he's made it back home, because I was trying to figure out how I was going to call Kathy and say, well, RC Derby killed Ed this weekend. But
well,
you're back home.
That would be a good way to fall down, though, Chris.
I guess.
But, I wasn't real happy about having to get to know the medics there, but they got a great staff at Motorama, there's no doubt.
But in the midst of all that, how did the RC Derby go? I mean, you guys were active throughout the balance of the weekend. A little tough to.
Motorama's always run smooth. This year we had some issues, but hey, you can't have but so many smooth years in a row. And anyway, the thing with the issues, it's no big deal about having issues as long as you figure out how to straighten it up and you also kind of learn from it. So anyway, good little education this weekend.
Daniel Roberts and his family came away with the win. Tyler Spittle won the Derby last year and the RC Derby out there because Daniel Roberts and everybody was dealing with the Rebecca's passing. And they came back, and Daniel said, "I'm winning it," and they did. They went 1-2, if I remember right. Tyler ended up third, but it was a good Derby. The main event was pretty good. Zach Herman was down there.
I was going to ask. I saw some of the New York guys went down. I didn't know if they derbied or raced or both. Or
Ian Doyle did very well in the feature. Zach and his crew did well. They were pretty spirited. Boy, if you get a chance to say, hey, I hope your day's going all right to Zach Herman, do it. He and the Eldridge just had a rough weekend. Without going into too much detail, they had a very, very challenging experience in Harrisburg. I hope it doesn't sour them and that they can come back. But ultimately, they fought uphill all weekend. Nate White had some problems out there.
Nate White. Yeah, I really want to mention Nate White.
Yeah. So, you know what? Why don't you take that?
Too good since Saturday morning. But anyway, Nate White, man, sportsmanship unlimited out of that guy this weekend. When you see an issue out there, at that time everybody was helping because I wasn't feeling well. But anyway, I went down there and sat by Nate and kind of while he was running, explained to him, something wasn't looking too good and might not taste too good later, and a lot of people were telling Nate, just throw his controller down and give it up, and he just kept on running, and like I said, the sportsmanship out of him was just really unbelievable, and of course, after the match, we called a meeting back there, and I kind of had to dole out the bad news to Nate, but it really was not his fault whatsoever. It was something that I missed on the line that I should have caught. I've known him for a while, and I've seen a lot of his cars he's built and everything, and Nate's never wanted to break the rules that I know of. And anyway, it was, like I said, very, very unlimited sportsmanship to come out of him this weekend.
He got DQ'd for a bumper infraction. After the front bumper fell off, you could see what was done. So it was tough.
Well done.
It was perfect at that point,
If it wouldn't have been caught with it on, then it's golden.
But I was sitting down there by him, and I said, dude, you throw it in if you want. He said, no, man. He said, we're going to run it to the end, and then we'll just deal with whatever when it's done. And we did. That ended up turning out okay. And anyway, don't like giving somebody that kind of news, but the way he took it, and I don't know, it was really, one of the good spots of the weekend right there to me. Not to have to do what I did, but to see that kind of sportsmanship.
Yep, it was really good. Jim Petro did well. Jeremy Cady and Ryan Davenport, guys from down Dundee way, Penyan area, they did very well. And their trip down, and they've performed well there in the past. Michael Soler, qualified for the feature, and he ended up fifth or so out of 33. So cool. He did well. It was good. It was good to see all those New York guys down there. We had a bunch of them running in the oval too, so it was cool. It was cool to see everybody down there.
Good deal.
I think this was the biggest influx of New York guys down there this year running Derby, and another good thing was a good influx from Virginia this year, which has never had any Virginia there in the Derby.
Mm-hmm. And I think they learned a little bit too about what the national level's like when you get outside the home track.
Oh yeah. We worked on a lot of things before we left Virginia, but I mean, you just can't cover it all. You just got to go to one and go through it, feel it.
Well, I was happy to see Daniel and his family finish strong in the main event class, and Tyler Spittle built a couple awesome cars. The truck class was pretty strong as well. And then was the Outlaws or was it the milk trucks? I couldn't tell it was out there because there was so much sheet metal balled up. I didn't know what I was looking at.
The milk trucks, that was definitely fun this weekend. It always usually draws a lot of people. We were a little late running it, and I think for Saturday night, Motorama was starting to slow down then. But yeah, I had a blast with the milk trucks out there. And Jim Petro, he had one of the coolest milk trucks out there, and I can't remember who else it was, but there was some really neat ones looking out there, and hopefully I can get some pictures out before I fall down this evening.
The show was delayed. There were some times running it at times over an hour behind, but part of that was due to Ed spending the time at the infirmary, making sure that he can get himself put back together, and so hopefully all the folks that were frustrated with that timing and the pace can see through that and rally around it next year.
Well, I mean, everybody proved that. Appreciate everyone's patience, and I gave it all I had as long as I could, and then once I got to the point I couldn't take it anymore, of course things slowed down a little bit, but once everybody realized what was going on, that's when the Derby family just came around and helped me and took care of things.
Perfect. Anybody else that you wanted to make mention of? I know you're going to be back up here in about 10 days. We'll catch up with you here in a little bit, talk a little bit about Speed World that's coming up in Auburn, March 1st and 2nd. But is there anybody you wanted to make mention of from down there?
Well, Chris, if I was able to sit here and name everyone and make mention to everyone, we'd probably be on here for a couple more hours.
We would.
So just, a general big thank you to everybody. Excuse me again, this voice has got to come back soon. Huge thanks to everyone out there, because when I wasn't good, holy gosh, the people were swamping me to take care of me, and that's just the Derby family way. And I really got to experience that this past weekend.
Very good. You need to go get yourself some rest. We'll catch up with you. We'll catch up with you in a couple days.
All right, buddy. I will see everyone in Auburn as well. I will be there.
All right. We'll see you then.
Take care, buddy.
Take care. That was Ed Brewster. He was in rough shape. He came in. We were done like 3-ish. And I'm like, I want to get out of here. I'm gonna scoot home. I'm gonna beat all this weather and everything that's coming. And he goes, I'm not gonna be able to do this. You got to cut. If you can, come and help with the national class. And I'd heard a little bit about some of the scuttlebutt and everything that was going on, and some of the weird things were going on with the shot clock and stuff. So I went out there with the stopwatch, and somebody said, "Oh, they asked you to help," and I said, "I'm not helping. I'm taking over." This is a hospital.
I like that.
I said, "I know what's been going on, and I walked through. This is how I'm going to do it.
It all stops here, that sort of thing."
Yeah, and then once we got the last car out there, I said, "I know each and every one of you individually as friends, not just through Demolition Derby, but not solely because of that. Over time, we've come to know each other for other habits, hobbies, whatever. And you all know that I've been to derbies all over the country, so you also know my reputation. I don't play favorites. I don't put up with nonsense. I don't deal with any of that crap, and I'm going to call it even. So after it's all done and over with, I don't need to hear about how awful we did in this feature. The rest of the weekend, whatever. But right now, this is how it's going to go. There wasn't a peep from anybody. But Zach, as stressed as Zach was all weekend, he had the worst weekend in the middle of the Derby. I yelled over to him. I said, "You got to hit something. Show me something. You got to pick it." And he was hammering on it. He got so mad. I thought he was going to come over and punch me. And I let him know I was just messing with him, because I usually do that to Nate. And all of his buddies around him started cracking up. So that was kind of funny. And then Nate was out. Nate White was out. He was out early. He got flipped over and couldn't get back on his wheels. So there was like 4 or 5 cars left, and I just yelled over to Nate. I'm like, "Dude, you got to hit something. You're just sandbagging over there. You got to go." So he grabbed his remote off the floor and started bumping his car back and forth, because by that point it had been knocked back onto its wheels. I'm like, "Dude, stop." He got me back that time. I was like, "Don't do anything that is gonna."
I think they call that karma.
Yeah, it was funny. It was good.
Very cool.
So we're at this point. The folks that have wanted to see the interviews and everything have heard their interviews, and they're either tuning out or they're sticking around for the fire marshal story. I learned a lot about as you alluded to earlier about being a track builder, and we had some holes we had to patch, and everybody with a login had an opinion, except for when I'm standing 5 feet away from them. They didn't want to talk about it. Yeah. It's like, wow, son of a gun. The same thing happens in live streaming. The same thing happens in Derby. Blah 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 blah. But anyway, we had they call it the spines, the main hallway that connects the two biggest portions of the arena, and it goes the length of I think it goes the length of Cameron Street. This complex is 1 million square feet. It takes up a city block. It is enormous, and we had this whole spine area. Well, we don't have the best PA options, because the off-road announcer has the arena PA, so they can't hear us talking, and there's certainly nothing going on in the hallway because you can't run hoses, you can't run cords and stuff because it's trip hazards. It's all insurance related. Fire marshal is up to all specs of insurance as well, just to let everybody know.
He was good, huh?
He was an awesome dude. I mean, he really was. And so we had mapped out what we wanted to do with the track. And there has to be X amount of space between the edge of the track and the fence, and then from the fence back to where the grandstands were. And part of our dirt was in the giant, 90-degree sheer face, 90-degree turn that they had. I mean, it was a wall at the far end of the off-road track. So we were limited on dirt, so we stole all Ed's from the Derby track to finish building our track. But we built up the banking and stuff, but it thinned it out on the floor, so that's where we got the holes. We wanted to go longer, but we couldn't. We didn't have the dirt, and we didn't have the space. We wanted to run a hose so that we could keep the track wet down more readily instead of taking it apart and putting it together every time. We couldn't because that was a trip hazard. So he explained all that very kindly. But pitting in the hallway, ideally we were going to take the wall and tee the tables up to the wall so people could work on both sides of the tables and just make these lines. Instead, folks put their tee and then put all their tables out in a line in front of them and teed off the other side so that they could protect their stuff. And when we asked them to move, a bunch of them were like, we kind of don't want to. We want to protect our stuff. It's like, okay. So we had all these guys that did line their stuff up to keep everybody consolidated closer to the doors. They were teeing out 3 and 4 8-foot tables deep. So and then the fire marshal came through, and I saw him come through. I saw him go through a second time, and the second time he was shaking his head. And then a golf cart with a bunch of officials came through, and they couldn't get through.
And the officials started getting grumpy.
Nope. All they did was reinforce what they already knew because they'd already been educated. They didn't have to get grumpy. They were already grumpy. So some of the officials came and they said, I need you to fix this. Like, well, fix what? We're pitted how we're supposed to be. It's like, no, you need to fix this. So we had to ask all these guys. They got their chargers and their stuffs everywhere. We're like, we got to have you move. Well, where are we supposed to go? I don't know.
But here is not the answer.
So a couple of them weren't there, and one of the officials came through afterwards, and it only been about 10 minutes or so, and they said, so have you got this fixed? We're trying on it. It's like, so you're going to get it fixed? Yes, we're working on it. We don't know where this guy is. And he goes, well, then move the table for him. So we moved it. It blocked off Jamie Davis and Tom Bell. And their tables had already been shuffled around by other people that were pitting because nobody was there. So, I mean, there's a whole gamut of stresses there. So I moved them to where I gave them 2 options and put their table where I thought they wanted to be from the night before. They didn't like it because they didn't know what was going on. So then I got them calmed down and got them moved where they needed to be. And everything was going great. We got to the 100-lap feature, and Jamie and Tom were packing everything up. And after the all day of all the challenges, something got shifted over in that corner with the pit area, and it pulled the extension cord running the timing system out of the power supply halfway, like a third of the way into the feature. So we had to pull the feature off the track, give everybody a chance to charge. We had to start the feature over again because they didn't back anything up. But so like I said, the worst part meeting the fire marshal wasn't the worst part of meeting the fire marshal wasn't the worst part of the race.
Have you ever thought of going into croquet? Getting into live streaming croquet or being involved with, croquet or maybe badminton?
No. Badminton, maybe. My concern is somebody's going to come with a loaded racket and come after me, beat me with a racket.
Tetherball
Tetherball with medicine balls on the end?
Yeah.
Illegal gloves with too much tack on.
Jarts.
No. No, those are daggers.
You weren't even old enough to have played jarts.
I knew what they were. I've seen them before.
Played them.
I've seen them in use, but I've never actually. I wasn't old enough to play them. But yeah, I remember jarts, lawn javelins.
Yeah, so that was an excellent idea.
I don't know who came up with that. I thought what we should do. It's like you hear all the stories of people sticking with a jar around their neck and everything.
We were a tougher society back then.
I guess.
So someplace this week or weekend there's going to be derbies, and we're going to let you know about it next week.
That's the game plan. Got to stop and pick up some more kids' Mucinex for Alan on the way home. He had his flu shot, so we're not sure what he's sick with, but he certainly acts like he's got the flu at home. He got picked up for the travel soccer league and had to miss his first practice because
that poor kid
balled up in a little pail as a sheet ball.
From the stuff I've been seeing, Alan's a pretty good athlete. He must obviously get that from Mrs. Marquardt.
Yeah.
Good.
Melissa pointed out he runs like you. He's got his chest puffed out, but at least he's flat-footed.
There's a lot of love there. I'm sure she meant it with all the love possible.
Well, if by love you mean laughing hysterically, then yes.
Just checking.
Yep.
Just checking.
He made 4 or 5 baskets in his last game, and he was on the foul line, and he didn't make any. I think he ended up with 6 foul shots, and he didn't make any of those. And he goes, man, those are really hard. Yeah, it's one of the most challenging parts of the game because you're all by yourself, you in the basket, and everybody's staring at you. But you'll figure it out. You'll be fine. He goes, yeah, I'm going to keep working on it. Melissa said he played a little bit more of an edge Saturday, which was cool.
Good.
He did the same thing after he found out he got MVP for the soccer game. That little bit of a boost made him play a little bit harder.
It's amazing what a little bit of self-assurance will do. You believe in yourself a little more when you. And then it pains me to say it, but I saw a really cute picture of you and Kelsey on the couch when you got home doing a little.
I was so beat after this weekend.
Little snuggling. That was 50% of that picture was very cute.
Yeah, and then there was Kelsey,
and then there was you. So
it felt like a blizzard bash down there. We got down there Thursday, and first thing we got on the grounds, there was no RC track at all, and no derby track built, and the oval was stuffed in a corner. Like, we need to move all this material over here so people over top can see. And then we built that up, and the guys from Trains and Lanes, Marco and Juan, were awesome.
Cool.
We just got the track too thin, and it was right where they're setting the cars.
Just like a Oswego.
It's not a bad comparison. I mean,
just like a Oswego.
Same idea. And I tell you what, Garrett Williamson, I think his name was Tim Robinson.
Just got to make sure the left rear misses it. Everything else can go.
Well, after we did Alfie Adams and Garrett Williamson, and I think his name was Tim or Jim. I missed it, but those guys all had great ideas, and they were trying to come up with an idea to fix it during the race. And there's a hole down in the concrete. It's not gonna stick, and you need to. So Alfie started. He moves dirt all those guys were all dirt aware, And Alfie came and he starts pointing. And then I didn't wet it right, so he came and he ran the hose. And then I started shoveling some. And then he started poking, and they started feeling the dirt with his hands. And then he had the shovel. And when we got back the next morning, he had beat me to the track and brought some of his own stuff from home and had graded out a patch. And it held the whole way through the second day, which was really redeeming. That was cool. And we couldn't have done that without the help. And
very cool.
It was a lot of fun.
But you know what I mean? It's just like real racing. I mean, you got to overcome.
Right. And we had just gotten the track,
especially dirt,
packed back the second day. We had built the berm up bigger because people were cutting the track and tightened that down, so it was good. And John Emhoff we commandeered a golf cart. You know those guys that were riding around telling us that our tables were too narrow? Mm-hmm. They left the key in their golf cart. So we found a track packer.
Nice.
Which was exciting.
Absolutely.
And John was in there. We got the wall straightened out. And he would just about finish packing the track. And I was standing there with Tim Rothenberger and Alfie. And Tim goes, if we were going to make this berm, we could have just made the berm around the outside of where the hole was, and we'd have been done. Like, that is a great idea now that we're done. And it held. Ultimately, it held. And
I think they call it hindsight.
Yeah. But I mean, Motorama's on top of it too. They saw what was going on. They've already got some people that they've contacted about changing up the dirt preparation, and we're going to go back to a flat oval next year. They've already started looking at doing pretty much the same classes and making sure that it's a little bit less stressful days. It's not quite so rushed. So I mean, they're into making it better too, which was a lot of fun.
Good deal.
This is probably a conversation best say it for 31st lap, but I haven't done a podcast in almost a week, so it was making me itchy.
Getting a little twitchy.
I had to. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it happen tonight.
You're the man. You can always make it happen.
I suppose. Well, what do you think?
I think we're on our way out the door.
Cover it all. We'll be back again next Monday. Thursday, this week's final round. Jason's back from Minnesota, so we're going to be doing an episode of Final Round on Thursday. Looking forward to that. And we'll be back in on Monday with, I don't know yet. We'll find it, though.
You'll figure it out.
It'll come. We'll probably make a push. We'll start combing through that entry list and start talking to the folks that are going to be making their way to Topeka because it's a month away. All you builders, it's only a month away. Probably should start the cars now.
Can't wait.
Yep. So I guess that's going to do it. That'll wrap it up for episode number 262. Appreciate all the folks that tuned in and listened. Appreciate all the guests making time for us. Hit the like button. Follow us along. We'll see everybody next Monday.
Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.